So for the last two lessons, we've been adding and subtracting terms, and now we're going to be multiplying them. So for all of these, x is 2. So we have 4 times 2 plus 4 times 2 plus 4 times 2. Well, we can do our multiplying first. 4 times 2 is 8, so this is 8 plus 8 plus 8, which is 24. In the second one, this is 3 times 4x, so it's 3 times 4 times 2. We'll do inside parentheses first, even though it's all multiplication, so you could do it any way you want. 4 times 2 is 8, and 3 times 8, 24. Well, that's interesting. Those first two problems have the same answer. Let's see about the next one. So 6x, it's 2, right? 6 times 2 plus 6 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 2 is 12. Add them together. We got 24 again. Interesting. What's this one? This is 2 times 6x. So 2 times 6 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12, and 2 times 12. Wow! All of them had the same answer, 24. In fact, they all had to have had the same answer. And the reason they all had to have the same answer is this. If you have 4x's plus 4x's plus 4x's, we learned that that is 12x's. Well, another way to write that would be 3 times 4x. 3 times 4x is 12x. It's the same answer. 6x plus 6x, we learned in the last lessons, is 12x. Today we're going to realize that 2 times 6x is also 12x. So all these simplified to 12x. And so the answer was 12 times 2. I make x a million here, and the answer to all of them would be the same, 12 million, right? For any value of x, all of these have the same answer because they're all 12 times x. So what do we think that would be? 5x plus 5x plus 5x. Is that 4 times 5x? Yes, it is. It's 20x. All right, so we're going to learn some more vocabulary. The number in front of the variable, in front of the letter, is called a coefficient. So I want you to circle the coefficient in this expression. There are 2 of them, not 3, not 1. There are 2 coefficients. 3 is a coefficient, 5 is a coefficient. Those are called coefficients. What are the letters called? They're called variables. Coefficient is always in front of the variable. 6 is not a coefficient because it's not multiplying a variable. What are the coefficients this time? There are 2 again. -7 is a coefficient, and 1 is the coefficient in front of y. So there are 2 coefficients, -7 and 1. 4 is not a coefficient. Okay, now, what are the letters called? Variables. What are these things called? They're called expressions. In both these expressions, there were 3 terms. All right, so we're going to be multiplying variable terms. Now, they do not have to be like each other. Right? When you add or subtract, the terms have to be like each other, but you can multiply anything. All right, so we're going to multiply 9 times 2. We're going to multiply that 2. 2 is the coefficient. We're going to multiply that coefficient, 9 times 2, and keep the variable. That's all you got to do. You can go play with a calculator. You make x any number. 9 times 2 times x will always equal 18x. 18 times x. So -7 times 5y is -35 times y. -35y. 1.2, -1.2 times 3x. Well, 1.2 times 3 is 3.6. So this is -3.6 times x. -3.6x is how we would say it. All right, so that's 10 times 2 times x times 3 times y. We have 2 coefficients here. We're going to multiply them. 10 times 2, and you could multiply this in any order. 10 times 2 is 20. 20 times 3 is 60. This is 60xy. We're going to put x and y in alphabetical order. That's not the multiplication symbol. That's 60 times whatever number x ends up being, times whatever number y ends up being. Negative 5 times a times negative 8b. All right, there's a 1 here, but negative 5 times 1, negative 5. Negative 5 times negative 8, positive 40. Then you just keep the variables. It's 40 times a times b. 48, and you would say it 40ab. Right, identity property of multiplication, right? So we're just going to go over what we've told you already. 1 times 9 is 9. So 1 times x is always whatever x is. Identity property of multiplication says so. What is 0 times x? We talked about this already. 0 times 9 is 0. 0 times any value of x is 0. That's not the end. It's called the 0 property. Negative 1 times x, right, is going to be negative 1 times 9, which is negative 9. So what happens when you have this is that you get the opposite of whatever x is. So negative 1x will always be negative x, or we also could say that as the opposite of x. So anytime you get 1x, you're going to write x. Anytime you get negative 1x, you're going to write negative x or the opposite of x. All right, so now we're going to multiply fractions, right? So 1/8 times 8. Sorry, I said that wrong. Cancel. And you get 4x. You multiply the 1/2 times the coefficient 8, and you get 4x. 3/5 times 5y. You cancel the 5's, and you get 3 over 1. You get 3y. And you can cancel it right there. That's fine. You could cancel this right here, by the way, too, and do it like that. Negative 4/5 times 10x. Well, 5 cancels with 10. That becomes a 1. That becomes a 2. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. So this is negative 8x. 5 times 1/15 x, they cancel. Now you get the 3 in the denominator, so this is 1/3 x. So the coefficient of this answer is 4, the coefficient of that answer is 3, the coefficient of that answer is negative 8, and the coefficient of this answer is a fraction, 1/3. The coefficient can be a fraction, yes. Two times y over 8. If it helps you, you could write this out like this, but the 2 cancels with the 8. And that becomes a 1, and that becomes a 4. And so this is y over 4. Okay. Could you also write that as 1/4 y like that? Yes, but the y is in the numerator. So if you write it as 1/4 y, make sure you indicate that y is in the middle or higher to indicate it goes in the numerator. 1 over 4y is, if you do the math, put different values of y in, it's not the same. Right, we've talked about this. X times x is x squared. X times x times x is x cubed. So let's see this. 3 times 8 is 24. X times x is x squared. So now let's do this right underneath it. Right, if you have 3x times 8, that's 24x. But 3x times 8x is 24x squared. X times x is x squared. So what's 7y times y? It is 7y squared. What's 2y times 9y times y? Well, 2 times 9 is 18. Y times y times y is y cubed. That is, say that. And let's write that out. You would say that as 18y cubed. You do not want to say to the third power. 18y cubed. This one up here is 7y squared. Wow, all right, so x times 4x times negative 8x times y, right? You don't need like terms, you can multiply all this. So let's do the coefficients first. So with 1 times 4 times negative 8 times 1. 4 times negative 8 is negative 32. X times x is x, oh, it's x times x times x. There's 3 of them, so it's x cubed times y. And how you would say that is negative 32 x cubed y. And what that means is this has been simplified to negative 32 times x to the third power times whatever y is. Negative 32 x cubed y. That's the way you would say it. So what does the question mark have to be there? Well, 5 times blank makes negative 30. The question mark has to be negative 6. Ooh, what does that one have to be? Right? How do we cancel this 7 and make that 4 go right there? Well, the question mark has to be 7, right? Then those cancel. Which ones are equivalent to 6x? 3x times 3 is 9x, so no. 7x minus 1x, that's 6x. Half times 12x, yeah, this cancels. So those two are equivalent. So any value of x, those two have the same answer, 6 times whatever x is. Okay, so let's do some practicing here. So start with me being able to write correctly. So what is the coefficient of y? It is 1 in this first one. The coefficient of x is negative 3. What's the coefficient of y over here? It is negative 1. That's 2x minus 1y, but the coefficient is negative 1. Coefficient of x is 2. Negative 8 times negative 2 is positive 16, and you bring x and y along. It's 16 times whatever x is times whatever y is. 6/10, 0.6 times 9. 0.6 times 9 is 5.4. Now, x times x is not x. It's x squared. So this is 5.4x squared, and that's how you'd say it. 8 times 12 is 96. You were supposed to memorize that in 3rd grade. Y times y times y is y cubed. You would say that is 96y cubed. 3/5 times 10k. 5 cancels with the 10. 3 times 2 is 6. This is 6k. Here, 3 times x over 12, or x divided by 12, this 3 cancels, becomes a 1, this becomes a 4. This is x over 4. What does the question mark have to be to make this 2, right? If it was a 5, they'd cancel and make it a 1. I say the question mark is a 10, right? If it's 10y, then that cancels and makes 2y. Which are equal to 10x? Well, the first one is 9x plus 1x. That's 10x. 2x times 5, also 10x. 1/5 times 50x. Hey, also 10x. All of them? Let's see. 2 goes into 20, makes 10. Yes, they're all equal to 10x. Good luck with the homework.